Morning. Maybe it's morning when you're watching this. Good afternoon. Good evening. It's evening when I'm recording this. It's 10 o'clock. Shall we read chapter 17? We're officially on the second half of the book. Can you believe it? Sometimes it feels like I've been reading this book for forever. Sometimes it feels like I just started reading it yesterday. And here we are, halfway through. All right. Fun fact. My computer is sitting next to me. When I'm done recording this, I'm going to attempt to write chapter 28 of book 4. I anticipate some crying. We'll see what happens. Chapter 17, Saturday, December 22nd. We're starting off strong. 22 December 2008. Everyone is okay. We did it. Some of us are worse for wear, but overall, everyone is okay, and most importantly, alive. We got home from the hospital yesterday morning, and I slept clear through until this morning around 10. Rochelle says I got up to go to the bathroom, but I thought I just dreamed that. I had so many dreams, all revolving around water, dangerous water we had to escape. I think it was probably the medicine the doctor gave me. Anyway, we, like all of us, even Nikki's mom, are at Grandma's house for lunch and a meeting. Rochelle picked up Thai food on our way over. Everyone had gathered in various parts of the house. Kate, Gabby, Nikki, and Margaret were in the living room, and Emma sat at the dining room table watching Rochelle and Ethel, who were in the kitchen, emptying the cartons of Thai food into several large metal bowls. Each dish had a bowl to itself. Curious and wanting to get a closer look, Emma headed into the kitchen and watched, peeking over Rochelle's shoulder. Rochelle scraped out the last bits of a yellow curry from its carton. The rest of the curry sat in a pile, looking pitifully small at the bottom of the massive bowl. "Could I get a bit of help from the witches in the house?" Ethel called, leaning around the corner as she peeked into the living room. Gabby and Kate both went into the kitchen just as Rochelle came and sat down on the other couch. Nikki stood to help, but Margaret pulled her back down onto the couch. In the kitchen, Gabby and Kate stood together, both their eyes closed as they waved their hands over the food. The portion in each bowl multiplied until the bowls were full. "Emma, dear," Ethel said, putting a hand on Emma's shoulder, "would you set the table?" She gestured to the cabinet that held all the plates. "Sure." Emma pulled out a pile of plates and grabbed a handful of forks from a drawer and went back to the dining room. "You knew?" Margaret screeched in the living room. "Mom," Nikki whispered, her voice still very hoarse. "No, you lied to me," Margaret said. "You knew there was going to be an out-of-control fire, and you went?" "I had to. You told me it was just a party by a girl from school." "It was." "No," Margaret cut Nikki off, putting her hand up. "You knew, and you lied. You purposefully put yourself in danger. This is why magic is dangerous. It makes you think you're invincible, that you can just walk into danger with no repercussions." "You must understand without the training that she wouldn't have had the skills necessary to save her peers," Rochelle said to Margaret. "If she had just had her powers stripped, she wouldn't be in those types of situations in the first place," Margaret retorted. "Mom," Nikki whispered. "No, you are the way you are because of your father, and you don't have to stay that way. You can still join cheerleading or the dance team. You can still have a normal life free from all this nonsense and danger," Margaret said. Nikki tried again. "But, Mom..." "Quiet. You're not supposed to speak anyway." "Margaret, I understand you're worried about your daughter, but you must understand she has a great destiny. Surely you see that," Rochelle said. "Oh, I know my daughter has the potential for greatness." "Mom, please," Nikki said. "Enough. You almost died. When I found out about this..." Margaret paused as if looking for the right word. "Misfortune. I was willing to overlook it because I love Rand and our life and our children. But I swore, and I made him swear, it would have no future influence on our lives or the lives of our children." Now, Maggie," Kate said, setting a big silver bowl on the dining room table. "Do not call me that." Margaret seethed. "Very well. Kate said, resuming her previous seat. We'll carry on this discussion after we've all been well fed. I did not come to eat. Margaret crossed her arms. Nevertheless, Kate said, putting her hand up, we eat first and talk later. Everyone, except Margaret, gathered at the table and sat. Kate waved her hand over a pitcher of water and the many silver bowls, which all rose floating in the air. All one needed to do to get a dish was to look at it, and the chosen food item would come soaring over. There was a bit of chatter as the women loaded their plates. Once everyone had been served and had settled, the only noise was the occasional clanking of the serving utensils on bowls. The bowls never hit one another. Each magically knew where the others would be in relation to itself. When all were sufficiently fed and watered, Kate waved her hand again and the plates began to clear and clean themselves. Nicky leaned over to Emma and said, I love magic. Emma grinned, nodding. Time to speak. Ethel stood and gestured to the living room. As everyone moved, Kate quickly wiped down the table and joined the group. Are you finally going to tell me why I'm here? Margaret asked as Kate sat down. We don't need just kidding. I am, Kate said. We've gathered you here today because we need to find out what happened on the 20th. We don't need a meeting for that, Margaret said, scoffing. A bunch of reckless, possibly insane adults told children that they could fight a fire. My child lied to me, and then both of those children almost died. That's what happened. Nicky flushed and sunk deep into the couch cushions. Margaret? Kate said the name in 2 clear syllables. I know it is difficult for you to understand, but I assure you, if we had been able to go in their places, we would have. Huh! Margaret shook her head. Much in the same way you cannot make all the life choices for your children, we cannot fulfill all the tasks we have for those we teach, Kate said calmly. Now, we have issues we need to address before you are insane. Margaret stood. Oh, when we got married, Rand warned me you were a little different, and then Nicky was born, and she's a witch, and so is he, and so are you. I thought we were done. Now you've thrown my daughter into the literal fire. I understand your frustration, Ethel said, but there's no need to. You stay out of this, you hag. Margaret, Kate snapped. That is uncalled for. No, she's just as bad as you, Margaret spat. You're all... If you cannot keep a civil tongue, I will have no choice but to magic your silence. Kate's face remained calm, but sparks danced around her fingertips. Margaret's mouth remained open, her brain still in the middle of her sentence. Nicky watched, amazed, as her mother reluctantly closed her mouth and sat back in her seat, arms folded once again. As I was saying, Kate continued, there were some peculiar events on the 20th we did not have time to examine then. Are you talking about Emma's vision of my present? Nicky asked in a whisper. It hurt less to speak if she whispered. She didn't look at Margaret, but she could feel her glare nonetheless. Yes, dear, Kate said. Tell us what happened. Nicky's swollen and tender throat reminded her of when she had gotten her tonsils out a few years before. She swallowed gingerly and began. It happened just like Emma said. I was in a store when I heard Wyatt and a girl talking. I listened. And that was it. And your vision? Kate asked Emma. I saw Wyatt and Joe. That's Nellie's sister. I hid so they couldn't see me, and I listened, Emma said. And you two didn't have any contact that day? Kate asked. I called several times, but she never answered, Nicky said. I think I left my phone in your car, Emma told Nicky. You also left your journal in there, Nicky said, pulling both out of her bag and handing them to Emma. Oh, good, Emma said. I've been writing in a backup. One more question before I move on to why you're all here, Kate said with a pointed look at Margaret. Margaret coughed her acknowledgement, looking more flustered by the minute. What happened at the bonfire? Kate asked. It didn't happen the way your vision said it would, did it? Yes and no, Emma answered. Emma recounted the events of the night of the bonfire, the false alarm, the s'mores, sleeping in the chairs, getting in the car, the earthquake, seeing the telephone pole fall, screaming for Nicky, finding each other just to lose each other again, finding Wyatt, finding Nicky again. Then Nicky passed out. The paramedics showed up right away. The smoke had started to clear once the fire was out, and they found us. I'm sure my screaming helped. I lied to the paramedics and told them Nikki was my sister so I could go with her in the ambulance. And the fire? Kate asked Nikki. It was a normal fire at first, Nikki whispered. I almost had it out until the lightning struck the telephone pole, and then it became magical. What do you mean, it became magical? Gabby asked, leaning forward. Felt it change. You know how magical fire feels? Nikki asked. Magical fire resists you, Gabby said. Exactly, Nikki said. It didn't resist, and then after the telephone pole, it did. How did you put it out? Kate asked. I tried to do it with the spell you taught us, but the earthquake tore me and Emma apart. It was weird, though. I couldn't sense her in the smoke. It was like it was closing me off from everything. Nikki shuddered. I felt that too, Emma said. It was very strange. I couldn't actually sense her magic until we were physically touching. Kate and Ethel glanced at each other. And the fire? Kate pressed. Well, Emma and I managed to find each other, and that's when new words came to me. We sat down like we do when we meditate, and then repeated what I said. And the fire went out. And then I did too, Nikki whispered, shrugging. Next thing I remember is waking up in a hazy-looking hospital room. Do you remember the spell you used? Kate asked. Kind of, Nikki said. Write it down. Kate handed Nikki a sheet of paper and a pencil. Nikki scribbled something on the paper. There are parts missing, but that's what I can remember of it. She handed the paper and pencil back to Kate. Interesting, Kate said, reading the paper. And this just came to you? Nikki nodded. Her throat had already gotten quite sore from all the talking she had been doing, even though she'd only been whispering. Kate nodded and turned to face Margaret. You're here because it's time you heard this, and I need you to wait until I am finished, Kate added, seeing Margaret take a deep breath. Margaret pursed her lips and nodded. Nikki is, according to the magical community, as well as in the eyes of your law, an adult. She cannot make her own she can make her own decisions. I respect that she lives under your roof, but she will not always. You do not have the right. Oh, there's some cats outside fighting. That's real nice. I respect that she lives under your roof, but she will not always. You do not have the right nor the ability to strip her of powers that will affect the rest of her life. Magic has already saved her life once, and it will save it again many more times. You may say, as her mother, you know best, but this choice is not up to you or her father or me. None of us can make this choice for her. Whether Nikki chooses to be stripped of her magical abilities or keep them is entirely up to her. Her growth as a witch has already been hindered by her binding as a child, which I understood, Kate added. Mothering magical children is a challenge even for those of us with our own magic. However, she is no longer a child, and she deserves to be treated accordingly. Margaret fumed, ready to explode. You have no right to tell me what I can and cannot do with my children. Her words came out in a quiet rage, but grew steadily. You say she's an adult, and maybe legally she is, but we all know 18-year-olds are still children. They still think and act like children. She doesn't have the capacity to realize how choosing to keep these powers will affect the rest of her life, she continued, now standing and yelling. If she even lives that long, these powers, this magic is evil. It's done nothing but cause her harm since that very first day, or have you forgotten what happened the day her powers showed up? What? Nikki asked, looking up at her mom. She nearly died that day. Margaret went on as though she hadn't heard Nikki. We are going to strip her powers, and when Cameron comes into his, we'll strip them too. Wagging her index finger with the rest of her hand in a tight fist, Margaret took a step towards Kate. Magic cannot save her life because it has only ever put her in danger in the first place, and if she keeps it, it will only continue to put her in danger over and over again until it kills her. I will not have it. I will not stunt her personal and professional growth by allowing this nonsense to continue. I will have normal children who will grow up and have their own normal children. It's my choice, Nikki said, her voice almost as hoarse as it had been at the hospital. You be quiet, Margaret snapped. Nikki waved her hand at her. Margaret tried to say something, but simply mouthed words. No sound would come out. It would be a turning point in the relationship, though Nikki would not know this until much later. Please, Mom, listen to me for once. Nikki reached up and took Margaret's hand, but Margaret jerked her hand away. I want to keep my powers. Nikki grabbed again, this time holding on. She pulled Margaret back into her seat. My whole life I've read about people who get powers. They always do amazing things with them. I always wanted to be them. My dream was never to be a ballerina or head cheerleader or any of those things. Just to have magic. To have power I could use to help people. On my 18th birthday, my dream came true. You and Dad taught me power and responsibility are tied to each other. I've got power. If that means putting my life on the line to save innocent people from burning alive, I'll do it. I went to the bonfire knowing, understanding, and accepting I might not come back. Mom, I knew if I didn't go, those people would have died. It's no different than what Dad does. Nikki watched Margaret, waiting for the hard lines on her face to soften. When they didn't, Nikki waved her hand again, and Margaret's voice was loosened once again. You think? Margaret's whisper dripped with rage as she turned toward Kate. This is better for her? To be able to shut her mother up whenever she pleases? Margaret stood again. Nikki, we're leaving. Margaret stormed past Kate and headed for the front door. Staring at the floor, Nikki took a deep breath. She looked up and said, I'm staying. Fine, Margaret said. Fly home. She left, slamming the door behind her. December 22nd, 2008. Meeting at Madame Ortega's. Mom came. Went about as well as a nuclear explosion. To say she's mad would be the understatement of the world. I always knew Mom was disappointed. I was more interested in reading than cheerleading. And I knew she wouldn't be crazy about magic because it doesn't fit the picket fence daydream she has for me. But I had no idea my magic almost killed me as a kid. There's a soft knock on the bathroom door. You okay? Emma asked. Yeah, Nikki said, sitting on the rim of the bathtub. I'll be out in a minute. She debated flushing to make it sound like she'd actually used the bathroom. There was no point in pretending with Emma. Nikki opened the bathroom door and leaned against the doorframe. I wish she didn't hate me. Your mom doesn't hate you. She just doesn't know you this way, Emma said. If your own mom doesn't know you, who does? Nikki said, sighing. Your dad? Emma offered. Nikki laughed hollowly. Nikki, Gabby poked her head into the hallway. Yeah, Nikki said, standing up and looking past Emma at Gabby. Kate had to go, but I'm about to make a healing drop for your throat, Gabby said. Would you like to watch? Nikki nodded, and the girls followed Gabby into the cozy kitchen. Emma, Ethel said just as they got to the kitchen, come with me. But, Emma said, I'd like to watch more earth magic. Later, dear, come to the library. Ethel walked toward the back of the house. Emma followed with a half-hearted wave to Nikki and Gabby, who both remained in the kitchen. Put the kettle on, Gabby said to Nikki. Gabby opened her bag and Ethel's spice drawer. She grabbed several herbs from the drawer and a few small bottles from her bag. Gabby dropped a pinch of this and a dash of that together in a small marble mortar, mixing them together with a pestle. Do you know what my mom was talking about? Nikki asked as she filled the kettle and put it on the burner, which she lit magically. You know, when she said I almost died when I got my magic? Kate told me about it, Gabby admitted as she poured the mixture into the glass jar and waved her hand over it a few times. The concoction bubbled, turning dark green and then lighter and lighter until it was a clear amber liquid, slightly thicker than the consistency of honey. So, Nikki said slowly, what happened? Gabby pulled a mug from Ethel's cabinet and sighed. You were about 2 years old. According to Kate, you were quite the chatterbox. Your mom and Kate had a good relationship back then, and Kate was visiting when it happened. If Kate hadn't been there, I would have died, Nikki guessed. Gabby nodded and added a heaping spoonful of the amber concoction to the mug. Your dad was out of town, and you three had gone to the zoo. You loved animals, particularly snakes and lions. You knew what sounds they made, and, well, anyway, your mom put you down for a nap. She and Kate were in the front room folding laundry when they heard a strange noise, and you started crying. I think I see where this is going, Nikki said, her shoulders falling. You had summoned a snake into your room, a black mamba, one of the most venomous snakes in the world, and it had bit you, Gabby said, setting the mug down on the counter and looking at Nikki. Your grandma was able to make the snake disappear back to wherever it came from and heal you from the bite. Nikki sighed and closed her eyes. Because her healing magic specialized in curses and poisons. She looked at Gabby again. Right? Gabby nodded. Lucky for you, she added, as she poured a bit of hot water from the kettle into the mug and stirred. Venoms and poisons are magically treated similarly, and naturally occurring venoms like those in snakes are not magic resistant, so you were easy to heal. Here, drink this. Gabby handed the mug to Nikki, who started to drink but spluttered and coughed. It doesn't go down smoothly, but you do need to drink all of it. Nikki chugged the rest of the drink as quickly as she could. Now what? She said, still hoarse. Close your eyes and think of cool, calming air. Nikki coughed violently. Interesting, Gabby said. Try warm, humid air. As if Nikki could see the flesh of her own throat in her mind, she saw cracked, dry skin smoothing and becoming supple once more. My throat, she said. Hey, my voice is back. She no longer sounded hoarse. Don't get too excited, Gabby warned. By tomorrow morning, you'll sound just as hoarse as before. You'll need to take this twice a day for the next 3 days. Then you'll be fully healed. Nikki nodded, taking the jar with the amber potion from Gabby. So, what happened with Mom and Grandma? Well, Kate performed the necessary magics right in front of your mom, Gabby said. She tried to explain afterwards, but I think your mom was still in too much shock over the snake and almost losing you. I don't think she ever really understood Kate. Margaret made up her mind. Magic was inherently dangerous. She kicked Kate out after that. Well, your mom thought she did. Kate stuck around just in case something else happened. 2 days later, your dad got home, got an earful, and bound your powers. Cam's were bound the day he was born. So he'll definitely get magic too? Nikki asked. Gabby nodded. Do I tell him? That's entirely up to you, Gabby said. Nikki sighed. How do I know? How do I decide? Just give it time. Time always knows the answer. Officially more than halfway through the book. That's the end of chapter 17. As always, if you are dying and you just need to know what happens next, you can get it on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Please sign up for the newsletter where you can keep track of what's going on and when the next book is coming out and where my next signing is at, which I believe my next one will be in November in Layton, Utah. So, I'm going to bed before either of you come up with another clever idea to get us killed or worse, expelled. My kids have been listening to a lot of Harry Potter lately. I'm loving it. It's the best. That sounded sarcastic. It was not sarcastic. I really do love that they love Harry Potter. I'm just really tired. I'll see you next week.